Ooh, looks like we're live, folks. We're going to have a bit of a 5-minute pre-chat, test the stuff. So if you're here and want to get right to the question and answer, you might want to skip 5 minutes. Otherwise, we're just going to chat. We got some farm news that we'd like to talk to you about, some bad news, some good news. This is a live show. Gideon's right here. What do you need, buddy? Okay, maybe we'll get you. Can you get them and go play in your bed quietly? This is a live show. Maybe you guys can get on the chat and tell me if you can hear me. Looks like 3 of you have jumped there. We'll have to tell folks to save their push play on the video. I can see it. Oh, good. Jake, you can hear me, buddy. Let me put you over here. I'm just rearranging the technical stuff. Everybody can hear me. Everybody can see me. You guys like these lights? Look. Oh, I should turn on the other light. Look how the shadow's there. Watch this. I got a magic trick. Look. Living on a Dime actually told me about this trick. We have, I think they're like $60 at Amazon. And it looks so much better. They also told me about this wide angle video, a high definition camera mount on top of a computer. It's wide angle. It's much better than that old stuff. So hope you guys like it. We went all out for you premium members. Let me get to where I can see the chat. Okay. They love the puppy video. That's good. Jake, I'm glad to hear that. Have them watch it every day. We were thinking about the kids when we made it. It's like super ADD, real fast. I think it's more songs I've put in a video ever. I think there was like 6 songs in it. I'm glad you enjoy it. It was for the kids. Jake, glad to get to your turkeys on grass. That was you, huh? You premium members, if you sign your name in the notes when you text me, I'll know who you are. And I can add you as a contact, and then I'll know who it is every time. Lindsay, how you doing? See, the cool people show up early. We're gonna start this show in about 3 minutes. We use the web browser on our PlayStation to sign in to your site. See you soon, Justin and family. We will see you soon, Lindsay. Niece family. Oh, good. They're helping. You guys are helping each other out learn how to play this on the TV. It looked like Anonymous 2402 has the answer. So real quick, before we start, we'll start in about 3 minutes. We have some good news and we have some bad news. Good news, I'm feeling really good. Like, I've been tired for a really long time because of Lyme disease. Rebecca has too. I've noticed she's been feeling really good, but I don't think I've felt like this since I was 25 years old. I've got a lot of energy. I'm excited for tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We got like 39 questions people submitted. If you want your question to for sure get answered, my assistant Heather sends out an email that week, the week before the webinar, sometime before the webinar, to where you can submit questions. Do that, and you're pretty much almost guaranteed to answer these questions. If I don't answer anybody's questions, text me. Like, if I don't, I want to quit. I want to try to wrap this up by 9. Let's say I don't get to everybody's questions. Text me. I'll get to you tomorrow. And if I can't answer any of these questions tonight because I don't know the answer or something like that, we'll find it, and maybe we'll text or something. You guys are the premium members. You have access to text. The bad news is last night, Jonah comes in crying with Pooper in his hand. Pooper was killed. Pooper is our guard goose. Mm-hmm. He was in the crop garden chickens, and I talked with Jonah. Apparently, Pooper got into the electric fence netting, got hung up
with his feet,
and died.
It was really sad.
And it was real hard when Jonah came in. He was panicked and sad, and we felt blame. We felt bad for it. We didn't know how it happened. It's always hard when you lose an animal that you plan on keeping for like 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, a goose will live 30 years. We weren't going to harvest it. We get even more attached to the animals like that. We'll get more attached to Violet because they're going to be here a long time. The goose is like the patriarch, like it's going to be here like a cow lives 12, 14 years, a goose 30, 40 years. And so we lost her. So the way we're coping with that is we're telling that story. We told it today in the blog, but what kept coming to my head is something I read last night in a book. It says, thank you, Jake. It says, the only thing we have control of, see, that was out of my control. There were some things I could do, I think. I think it was partly because there were broody hens in there and Pooper was so young that the broody hens harassed her and might have scared her into the fence. It could have been because the fence at that moment was loose. And so I remember from back in high school, a guy gave me for graduating the book As a Man Thinketh. And one thing I take away from that 20 years later is that when something bad happens or you do something wrong or something happens, you look at that situation and say, what could I do different? And you just change. You let a bad situation improve your life, improve the way you go about doing things. And also the recent quote, the only thing you have control of is your thoughts. And that's true. And so I had to, we're having to stay positive. We're having to just move on with a plan. We're having to correct what could have caused it. Like we've already gone to break the broody hens. We've already set up the cage to get them taken care of. So I think we're ready to go, Rebecca.
All right.
Sean Diaz here and a little early. It is 8:01. So let's get this show on the road. We have a ton of questions. I might even try to pull up a screen share, Rebecca, at some point.
For what?
Yeah, because I want to show, like, we might go to some of these links. What are your thoughts on 360 cameras for this type of work you do? I've been looking at the Rilo and GoPro Fusion. DJI makes one too with the Wicked chest mount so you can be hands-free. Pretty neat, but unsure whether they will be up to the task. They'll probably be up for the task. I don't know too much about it. I think that in this world, the homestead world, most people aren't even into like 4K video yet. So yeah. I feel like 3D filming is even a step ahead of that. I mean, you could do it. It would be interesting. Yeah. I don't think it would be good for like daily vlogs or anything like that, but maybe a special.
I looked at the Rilo and it was just like, it was $500 for the camera. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, sure, it'd probably be fun to have in the toolkit, but
I have some
not
other
every
things
day
that I would rather be in my toolkit, like the Canon M50, which is like a smaller, but yet high quality. Like I have a big Canon 80D. It's kind of hard and awkward to carry around for vlogging. And then the next one down is the Canon G7X, which is so small. There's one in the middle now, Canon M50. That would be neat because you can actually change out those lenses. Where the G7X, the smaller camera, you can't change out the lenses, and then the Canon 80D is big, but you could change its higher quality, changes lenses, but it's big. Yeah. So there is a middleman now that where you can change the lenses, and so I'd like to maybe experiment with that first. So.
I'll do this one. Have you ever had conversations with your kids like all parents do about what they want to be when they grow up? Any surprises? Yes. We talk about it pretty regularly, at least weekly for sure. And so far, there are no surprises. I mean, it's super typical. They're like going to live with us for the rest of their lives still. So I think that, I mean, we kind of laugh and we say, oh, when you're like a teenager and you want to drive off and go to town without us, and they're like, give us like the 10-head look. It's kind of funny because we're like, you're not going to want to hang out with us for forever. At this point in time, I think they're like so freaked out. Like they're so afraid that, of being alone or whatever. But so far they want to be farmers.
So no surprise.
They want to stay home.
But we tell them we're going to support them.
Yeah, but we tell them like they can do whatever they want. If they want to stay here, they're welcome to that. But if they want to go off and do other things, we're going to be sad, but they can do it, and we will go and visit them wherever they're at. We're getting our first cow bred Jersey heifer on July 7th. We'll be feeding hay, but want to know what else I should be giving her. Do you give yours apple cider vinegar? How much? Thanks for all the awesome encouragement. So we do give her apple cider vinegar. We give it to her on the alfalfa pellets.
So she'll take it. She doesn't just take it straight up, and we give her a half a cup a day.
And we started by just putting apple cider vinegar in a spray bottle, and we would spray like 1 spray the first day, 2 sprays the next day, and worked it up until we were like putting a good amount on there. She did it. One thing that we have on hand are Synergy animal products. It's like synergyanimalproducts.com, I believe. And
I'll give them that link.
Okay.
So we're going to update show notes.
Yeah,
with all these links.
We'll give the updates, but I like to have that on hand for mastitis, for any sort of problems. We have the Synergy, it's XL 7000. We have the udder cream, and then I think we have one other one. I can't remember which one else we have. It has a hornet on it.
I just put the information on apple cider vinegar for cows, and I'll go do the Synergy too.
Yeah, and then so then we just feed organic alfalfa pellets, and we have tried chaff hay, and I think that may be something that we do in the fall and winter with her, just because it's fermented and it can't hurt her, to do that, and that might cut down a little bit on our hay costs. So I don't know. We'll see. It probably is not going to be something we give every day, the chaff hay, but it is something.
And you talked about Synergy animal products. Yes. I'll link that too.
How can I retrain my geese? They're 15 weeks old, 2 of them, and I made the mistake of bonding with them. Are there still ways that I can train them to watch over my chickens? I mean, okay, so it's not the end of the world. They're still going to keep some care over the chickens. I don't know if you can retrain them. You could maybe have Christmas dinner goose and get one next spring. I don't know if that's something you're into, but that might be something. And I mean, I don't know. That's a hard one. It's hard because I worried about that a little bit with Cooper and the other one. We haven't named it. I don't know. We'll see. So, do you have any ideas of how you could retrain it? I mean, maybe just splitting them up.
Oh, definitely. You definitely have to split the geese up.
Yeah.
You cannot keep 2 geese with.
Well, she's wondering.
They're
15 weeks old, and she has the 2 of them together. She's wanting to know how to retrain them. Oh my word! I have a tick on me. I have a tick crawling.
First of all, you separate them to 2 flocks. You can't retrain them. Two geese in 1 flock of chickens. You cannot train them to guard your chickens. So I think that you could retrain them by just putting 1 goose back in with the flock. If you don't have 2 flocks, by getting rid of one geese and leaving 1 with your flock. So I'm a little distracted right now because I'm going to link you guys the Synergy animal products. I'm also kind of going and updating these notes as we speak things and put up websites. I'm actually adding it to a document with all y'all's questions, and I'm going to make that available probably to everybody in the membership.
Okay, I'm starting to plant in my backyard, starting with soil blocks, but I can't seem to get anything to grow. I've got my seeds at the local Lowe's store and watering every night. Living in El Paso where it's super hot, do you think my seeds could be bad if it's too hot here or something else?
Let's say that she probably needs to go by the seed planting guide, Burpee's seed planting guide.
Yes.
It may not be time for what you are planting, and it will probably need actually shade cloth opposite of greenhouse.
Yeah.
Not a white clear plastic, but actually shade cloth over them.
Yeah.
As the nursery.
I'm wondering if in El Paso it's planting time. I don't know what the weather is.
Probably
there. I'm trying
not.
to think of where is El Paso?
Texas.
Is it Texas?
Hey, you would think maybe you haven't been traveled.
I know.
What's wrong with you? You don't travel?
I know. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I'm really embarrassed. I don't know where it's at. Let me look.
Hey, you guys are getting the raw Becky right there. I'm looking up the growing calendar link for you guys. This almost comes up every time. It's a treasure. It's a treasure. Part-time permies in the house. Cindy in the house.
Okay.
Cindy, we're trying to wrap this up by your 9 o'clock show.
Thanks, Cindy. Okay,
we're gonna send everybody to
is that
Cindy's show after this.
Is that really cool? Let me look to see where El Paso is. Is it on the border of Mexico?
Rebecca, I'm just gonna send them. I put the planning guide in there. They can go look it up, and that way it applies to everybody. Because we've had people here plant certain things, and we're like, wait a minute, it's not time. All you gotta do is go to Burpee Planning Guide, put in your zip code, and it'll tell you what you can plant when. Yeah,
and I'm gonna say that I think it's not time because even in Florida, I know right now they can't plant anything. It's like no way things are gonna grow. So I'm thinking it's a no-go. That could be your whole problem.
Yeah.
And you maybe could just do tomatoes because I know tomatoes love the heat. But okay. What are you doing with all the offcuts, legs, heads, etc., and the guts from your chicken slaughter?
Oh, I love this question.
Is it all to the pigs or composted?
I love this question because I can't talk about it on YouTube. YouTube has certain rules now. We can't talk about any of this stuff. Blood, guts, none of that. I used to be able to show it. Now I can't. Thankfully, now I have pigs. Everything we don't use, we actually bagged. That's one thing we didn't count in the value we got from these sea monsters because we bagged probably 10 or probably 12 days worth of guts and everything we didn't want. We didn't save the heads this time, although you can for stock. Heads, guts. We didn't save the gizzards. We did save the liver. Everything we didn't want. We put in this bag of guts, a day's worth of food for the pigs, and we froze it. We took 1 day's worth after the butchering and fed it to the pigs. They ate it right up. We feed the pigs in the morning and the evening. They don't have all you can eat all day. They might not necessarily eat it if you don't do that. And if we did not have it, one thing is you could put it in a bucket and grow maggots with it. A bucket, suspended in the air. I think I have a video on it. I do. Maybe
a maggot bucket.
Maybe Cindy can look it up and link it. It's called something about maggot bucket. And you drill holes in this bucket, suspend it about 2 feet in the air. You drill holes big enough for a fly to get in and out. It doesn't matter if it gets in or out. It lays its eggs in there. The maggot grows, it consumes the guts, and comes out in the form of a maggot, which is a very efficient way for the chickens to eat that stuff.
We've also used it in black soldier fly bin.
We have, yes, and we have also put it in compost pile. If you have a 3 cubic meter or yard compost pile going, put it in the middle of that. And we've also put it on the edge in the woods, in the edge for our raccoon, possum, fox friends.
Yeah, and then
keep their bellies full.
Some of the meat I saved for Laurel and the cats.
Oh yeah,
to give.
Yeah, dogs too, guys.
So the dogs and the cats will get some of the liver. We should have shaved the liver, heart, kidney for Laurel. Legs. So, yeah. What was your cover crop you put in with your potatoes this year?
Oh, I think I have a link to that, don't I?
Or no, he said, did you put this?
I answer right here. So it's 18% rye, 18% barley, 20% peas, 20% clover, 2.5% fenugreek, 2.5% flax. And I did 1 pound per 1,000 square feet. That is a winter cover crop mix. I customized that. I actually have a video in the member area called something like that, winter cover crop. So go and check that out. There's also a good resource. Rebecca, you might want to go to I'm going to look up this resource for you. It's from Grow Organic. That's not, yeah, it's from Grow Organic, and they have an awesome cover crop guide where you can plant according to different things. I chose plants that could germinate
in a certain degree.
In 45 degrees and grow as low as 25 degrees. And that's why I chose them. Plus, I wanted them to be edible by us and chickens. And that's why I planted all that stuff. So notice when that garden's spent, our chickens, pigs are going to be able to go back in there and eat the vegetables we didn't use and all the cover crops. So I'm going to look that sheet up for you, and I'll include it in the notes here.
Okay, I'm taking a permaculture design course taught by Peter Bain, author of the Permaculture Handbook, in a few weeks. Any suggestions for getting the most out of the course? I have a strong background in horticulture, have raised every type of livestock, and built my own house on 25 acres in West Michigan.
All right.
I would say I have a lot of fun.
I would say that what I did to prepare for my PDC was read that book. If that guy has written that book, as you mentioned, go and read that book right now and go start actually trying to do that book by drawing a design of your place. And you're going to come up with a ton of questions. And then when you go to class, you'll have your questions ready to be asked from him or a side instructor or a smart student or whatever. So start actually trying to live it out, and then you can relax more at that class and use it as a supplement, because that's where the book fails. When you have an individualized question, when you actually try to put it on paper or actually try to do it.
Okay, Justin, what did you sow for cover crop when you planted your squash and melon? Was it that?
Same thing. Repeat that if you want.
It was
right here.
18% rye, 18% barley, 20% peas, 20% clover, 2.5% fenugreek, 2.5% flax. It was 1 pound per 1,000 square feet. So you would want that 100% to make 1 pound. Okay. Are there any fruits or vegetables, plants that don't do well in wood chip garden? Intense, closely planted, or faster growing?
Can I be honest with you guys? I put way too much mulch on my garden, and it's making me question mulch. And, you know, one thing eventually I'd like to get is where I am fortunate. We can get all the wood chips we want.
Yes.
Not everybody can do that. And as a teacher, I sometimes feel like, is there a more sustainable way? Is there something that everybody could do? And I would really like to develop a cover crop system. Be honest with you. Will I do it? How long will it take? I don't know, because it's too easy for us to get wood chips.
Yeah.
I put too much on our bomb-proof permaculture garden that we actually put a instructional video on this. It's doing great.
Yeah.
It only has 4 inches of wood chips. There's so much. It retains all that moisture. We found out this year with the coaching of Randy Kleiman, the mulch is actually
an insulator.
So in the spring, the earth is 55 degrees, right, down under, and it's holding that cool air in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe right now, if I was growing lettuce, it might be a good thing, but
I don't know. We're growing lettuce. I don't know.
What was the question?
Are there any fruits or vegetables that don't do well?
What is hard to grow in mulch are high-intensity things like carrots, beets, especially if you do deep mulch. If you don't, you just move it out of the way and do it. Now, what I always keep going back to is Paul Gauchi's place, Back to Eden. But sometimes you see movies and they can just show the great. I know, yeah, that's true. They just show the great, and you think it's good to be true. But when we actually went to Paul Gauchi's place, it's more beautiful than the movie can capture. So it's legit.
And
you just have to do it that way. And the food was good. It was very shallow mulch.
It was.
And the mulch in his garden, did you notice the mulch in his annual garden was not big, chunky wood chips?
Yeah.
It was actually the stuff that the chickens, he had a pen for chickens. The chickens had broke down.
Yeah.
It was actually almost compost.
It was. It was. It was just very, yeah.
And he does weed it. I mean, you don't necessarily see that in the movie, but they have volunteers that come out and help weed that part because it is not such a heavy, thick mulch.
Yeah.
So I actually have a good article to help you guys with that. So I vote that fast-growing stuff that is plant fat close together, it can be a little more difficult, but everything should be okay. I just highly encourage you to, if you have sod, to use a weed barrier like cardboard, and then a thin layer of mulch. I remember when we had that winter garden way back when we were early on doing wood chip stuff, we did a thin layer and it was so much easier to work with. And I probably just should have spot weeded out there. We've been mulching there for years. Enough mulch already.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give them a link to that while you answer one of these things. Is that okay?
So yeah, and actually, to give
I'm gonna give you guys a great article on wood chips.
To tell you something about our kitchen garden, we might be doing raised beds out there.
Yeah, because
next year, because we have a boggy area, and there I just feel like maybe we could do a better job of growing in our kitchen
I hate
garden.
to go away from it because I'm like, I want the chicken garden miracle out there so bad, but it's so boggy. Actually, a premium member was texting me saying, I want to put more mulch out because my area is boggy. I have raised beds. I'm like, no, stick with the raised beds. I think I'm going to go with raised beds.
Yeah.
So there's cases like in a bog, you don't want wood chips.
Yeah, and part of the problem is that you can't see it because we have wood chips, but the land goes like this out there, and then we have a layer of wood chips on top that's flat. So
okay.
That's part of our problem. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. We might do raised beds, we might not, but it's a possibility.
Part-time Permie's chatting it up. Have you been answering her?
I haven't. I did. Answer
we did do a
thing.
swell. Well, we did actually. Here, they're saying do a swell around our garden.
Yeah.
We actually we did a swell-ish drainage off our garden, and we haven't had a big rain event since.
Yeah.
To test, but it did fill up right away, and it did direct water off our garden, so that's probably going to help.
So no, we aren't going to go away from chickens prepping the garden. From what I understand, the chickens will get up in the raised beds still, and we're thinking about possibly making each raised bed our chicken tractor length, so we could just put the chickens in there to still prep it. So we still want to integrate the chickens into our raised bed system. I think that we just are going to try to figure something out. We're not going to go away from it completely. We definitely want it to go. We still want to use chickens for sure. Okay, can you give us the recipe for bulletproof coffee, please? Okay, so we use a 32-ounce French press, and we make the coffee how we want to make it in that, to the strength that we like it. So you make it to your strength, whatever that is. And then in the blender, we put 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of coconut oil, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, a splash of vanilla, a spoonful of gelatin or collagen peptides. And is that it?
Maybe. Will you write that out in these notes here?
Yeah.
I think so. Did you say maple syrup?
Yeah.
Peptides?
Mm-hmm.
Peptids?
Mm-hmm.
And butter and coconut oil. Mm-hmm. And then vanilla?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
Sometimes when we're feeling saucy, chocolate, like dark chocolate chips,
mm-hmm.
or not chocolate powder. That didn't work out too well. I didn't like shred in there enough or something. It felt sandy.
Got weird.
Yeah. So we are typing the recipe out that I guess I'll share with you guys at the end. I'll just put this. Hey, you know what? I'm making show notes here as we go. I think it might be a neat feature, and I'll link that maybe towards the end of the show. And I'll also have my assistant Heather send this out to everybody like tomorrow or something. Okay, we got to get speeding up here. Okay, we got 8:22. We've got couple more pages. Okay. So let's wrap it away here. I have your basic list for setting up an electric fence for cows. Please explain to me in greater detail how many ground rods you need and basic setup, please. Newbie here, thanks. You only need 1 ground rod for 1 energizer. You need a lane to run your cows out into the certain pasture. For lane, we use, I don't have it all set up yet, but ideally I'm going to use T-posts because they're more permanent, more semi-permanent at least. And I'll probably do 2 strands of electric, very clear, like white strands, so that I can herd bear or the cows through that lane easily and they won't get out. And then out in the field where we make our day paddocks, I need something quick and easy that I just set up every day. And I myself and Joel Salatin prefer the metal metal posts you put in the ground with plastic insulators on them. I have all my stuff in a kit. Yeah, Rebecca, you can go on to the next. I'm going to give you a link to all the stuff I use. I use a post every 12 feet in setting up my paddocks and my lanes. Okay, go ahead, Beth. Every 12 steps. Go ahead.
Okay, how do you cure pink eye in cattle? We have used colloidal silver in the eye. We just like drop it in there. And we like the Argentine 23 brand. And that is what we take if we need colloidal silver for ourselves. But that works out perfect. It really helps. If you don't want to do colloidal silver, you don't feel comfortable using that, I would recommend Synergy Animal Products, or whatever that's called. we put that in the show notes, and it was in the box as well. And we've used that as well to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop putting it in the chat box. I'm gonna start putting it in the show notes. And I'm gonna make the show notes available to everybody tonight.
So yeah, and it worked to use the Synergy animal products in pink.
Okay. Cool.
How to establish virgin pasture and how to overseas, and what to overseed with. So I'm thinking here how to seed it basically. I would look at your ag extension, what they say about what you should be growing in your pasture, like what's native, to like what grows well in your area.
We don't plant anything. We encourage the natives.
Well, at this time though, because we do have so much fescue, and part of what Violet's problem could be with fescue toxicity, I want to plant some more clover and some other things that were recommended for our area. So, so we're going to maybe try to do that this year. There's a method, I don't know.
Is that the kind of colloidal silver you would use?
Argentine 23. It's Argentine. There we go.
There it is.
What it is. Okay, so
pink eye, and what else is the other solution? Sorry.
I would just use it in pink eye.
Okay. How many drops a day? I'm updating these show notes for you guys. 2 to 3 drops.
I don't know. I would just do like 2 or 3 drops.
Morning and night.
2 to 3 times a day.
Okay.
Okay, so oh, you know what else for pink eye? I just realized raw milk. I wonder if that would work.
Oh yeah,
we use raw milk for ourselves, and it works
good.
Beautifully. So I wonder if you just like milked the cow a little bit and put it in her eye.
Cool.
So there was going back to the seeding of the pasture. There was a method that you were going to do at some point where it was like, it's like in February when the ground is thawing and then refreezing at night, you toss out your seed during that time. And for whatever reason, that helps it establish. And I think we're going to try that this year and see what we can come up with.
I wish we could think of a name for that.
I don't know. I'll research it.
Sandy, you know the name for that. Come on now. It's a permaculture concept. It's has to do with the timing and the ground being frozen and this certain type of
now, so February was for our stage, for our area. So February might not be for your area because I have no idea where you're at. But and maybe you want to do that now. If it's virgin pasture, I don't know what that particularly means. Does that mean that it's like dirt and there's no grass on it? I have no idea. If there's no grass on it, I would totally look up what is good. If you're in the southeast, don't do fescue Kentucky 31 because that is what will give you fescue toxicity. There's other fescue that will establish well that don't go with fescue toxicity. What work brands do you use for farm work? Justin wears Boggs rain boots.
Yep, and I've linked it in the show notes. That was an easy question. I love those. They're all rubber. I hate the ones with the cloth on them.
With the neoprene on them.
Yeah, it's no good. It gets ripped on briars. Get the all rubber ones.
How much do you spend to run your farm? Basically maintenance and feed. A lot.
Especially since we're establishing it.
Yeah,
homesteading's not cheap. We're not the cheap homesteaders. We're doing this primarily for our health, and our health is so valuable. We want to live a long, happy life, not just a long, miserable life.
And we tend not to spend money on a lot of other things.
That's all we spend our money on.
We pretty much spend our money at the grocery store and on farm stuff.
We rarely go out to eat. We have one car. I'm surprised we have both cell phones. Those are for work now, so those are work expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, most of our stuff is spent on the farm.
I wish we could give you a better answer, but it just depends on who you are.
Maintenance and feed. So, and because like our expenses 2 years ago versus our expenses this year, because we have sheep and pigs and the cow and the chickens. It's been a lot more expensive this year. And I mean, you know, we're investing in all these things. So it's been kind of crazy. But I mean, we pretty much buy all of our food from New Country Organic. So I mean, it's like $30 a bag. And it's expensive.
Yeah.
But there are like, seriously, like just because we buy New Country doesn't mean that is the right feed for you. Like somebody just messaged me with a new, with a feed that they found. It was a non-GMO feed that they found actually not too far from us, and they had really good prices. So like, just keep looking. You Google, like, just Google, go to your farmer's market, ask them what they're feeding, ask them how much, they're getting it for. Maybe you can go in with them on feed. I don't know. Like, there are ways to save money if that is what you absolutely have to do. I will say, when we were living on really a very small amount of income when Justin was sick, I mean, we were still buying New Country organic feed because it was important to us to feed organic. So, but we also we were buying very little because we were supplementing with grocery store throwaways and stuff like that. So you can farm on cheap if you have to. It's really hard, I'm not gonna lie, if you have a lot of animals. Okay, what YouTube channels do you follow that help expand your knowledge on better ways to farm?
We don't really watch YouTube. That may come to a surprise. We don't really watch YouTube. When we need an answer to something, we research, we ask Mr. Google Pants. I'm looking for answers from trusted sources like Permaculture News, Permies.com. Permies.com isn't necessarily trusted because anybody can post on there. Permaculturenews.org is a little better trusted. I also look for answers from websites from authorities, not necessarily like forums, but authorities who have experience, who have pictures of their experience or their success and seem to really know what they're talking about. Specialists in certain areas. I mostly go to books for help. If I need chicken guide, my first source is Small Scale Poultry Flock from Harvey Usry. If it's something to do with cows or even sometimes with chickens, it's Joel Salatin's books. It's In the Garden, it's Elliot Coleman's book, or Fortier or Curtis Stone, somebody like that. Sometimes I search with filters related to that. Sometimes I actually go to the member area. The member area is a great place to source directly. I like to get I need my information fast and direct. And
we will also call people that we met on the tour. Dennis.
Yeah.
Randy Kleiman, he's really good with the garden as far as like minerals and stuff like that. He helped us. He answered some of our questions that we had.
And though you might not have that access to the people that we met on the tour, but you have that access inside of our member area. There's a specialist like Cindy is on here, and she's an excellent homesteader and permaculturalist. Excellent.
She's very smart.
There, Josh DeBerry is in the member group, and Randy Kleiman. These are great sources.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Lumna is in there. So there's a great source of information in there.
Yeah.
Go to the member area in the Facebook group. Text us or go to the Facebook group. Rebecca's in there every day.
Well,
sometimes multiple times.
I've been trying to be in there, but this last week has kicked my butt with having friends here and stuff like that. I will say I watch Art and Bernie because they're our friends.
Yeah, we would go to YouTube for entertainment. I go to.
Although, like, I watched a YouTube channel from John Grow Your Greens, that guy.
Yeah.
And I learned some stuff about mulch, and it was really great. Somebody sent me that video on email.
But see, you were looking for that, or no? I guess somebody sent
me. Well, because we were talking about how we were having some problems with it, and someone said, "Hey, I just came across this video. I thought you might be interested," and I watched it.
And we also researched our guard dog through YouTube, but it's more like we're looking for it.
Yeah.
Our house is a barndominium. Yes, there's like 40 horse stalls underneath us. We use them for all kinds of stuff. This house was designed to be a horse ranch barn. That didn't happen, and now we've just turned it into a great storage area and place for things like broody chickens and cats. And
yeah. I do like our setup. I wish that it was
set up a little differently. Would you build that again if you were to start over? Would you put cow stalls underneath here? Because somebody's thinking about building a house. That's what they really want to know.
Yeah, I know.
Is that, like, if we were to start over, I don't think we'd put.
It depends upon.
It is kind of nice. You just walk downstairs and there it all is.
I think it really, okay, so we but we probably would set it up differently in this area. And it would really depend upon, like say this house burned down right now or later when we're not all in it. If like our house burned down, I don't know if on this property we would do this setup again. If like we moved to Maine or something, we would maybe do this setup where it was like really cold and it would be really beneficial to not have to go outside to feed our animals, and like we kept our animals inside and things like that. I don't love how it's set up to like go from upstairs to downstairs, it's kind of awkward. You have to go through another room and down like all the way over to this corner. So maybe if I was going to do this layout again, I was in a barn where we bought our first milk cow from, and they lived upstairs from it. And it was actually amazing how you transition from in the house to down in the barn. I really, really, really liked that. So would I do it again? Maybe. It just really depended. And I would probably change everything about it.
Yeah. Would you?
So, I mean, like ours is not, I mean, like this was built in 1995. So like barn dominiums weren't even like a thing. This was literally just a barn. And then my father-in-law just added a house in it. So yeah, barn dominiums might be better. I have no idea. I've never even looked them up. What are your tips to be financially independent?
Okay, so I would say if you want to do a cottage, okay, my number one tip, take one home, you got to become you got to become an entrepreneur. If you're not an entrepreneur, I think you can grow into be an entrepreneur. You as a homesteader, you already are desiring some sort of freedom. Ultimately, that's what you're doing, whether you're growing food for health or to save money. That's freedom. That comes to the heart of it. Entrepreneurship gives you that freedom. You sacrifice things. We can't do certain things because we're in a work week or doing a launch or something like that. And paychecks are not steady and you're taking a lot of risk and it can be scary, but you're free. And if you want to do a cottage-based business, like sell farm products or sell something like that, check out Joel Salatin's book. What was it called? You Can Farm by Joel Salatin. He gives all kinds of different ideas on how to do it. If you want a business like mine where we curate content that's mostly free, and then every once in a while we meet a need and a desire by the people through an informational course and entertaining inspirational movie like the Great American Farm Tour, something like that. You build an audience, you get to know your audience. You build an audience through content creation, whether that's podcasts, blogs, vlogs like we do, things like that. And then you get to know that audience and you serve them even more by then creating a product that solves their problem. If you're interested in more of that and what I do, I'm going to leave a link in the show notes. It's abundantpermaculture.com/sustainable-entrepreneur, where I have like 3 resources. It's like resources on YouTubing, resources on doing a successful Kickstarter, and then resources on the 20-hour work week, because I can put in 20 hours of work, like office work, and make a full-time living. And that's cool. And many of you can do it. You're just like me. I'm no better than anybody put their mind to and has the willingness to take risk and just follow plans can do it. And I have some resources in that. So look for that there. How much did it cost for you guys on the farm tour to go around the United States? Like mainly fuel costs. Fuel costs, that's easy. It was $10,000. All the other costs, pretty much double what you think it's going to be. Traveling is terribly expensive. So consider that when you're traveling. I was in another chicken group and someone was asking the age-old question, how do I get my chickens smell down? I know I have some. I've heard many say they don't have to smell, so I just want to know, how do you get the smell down? That's really actually easy. Even if your chickens are in a static coop, can you check the live chat? Yeah. If there's a smell, there's mismanagement, and don't be hard on yourself. It's because you need more carbon. Carbon can come in the form of leaves, wood chips, wood shavings, straw. We avoid straw because it's been sprayed like crazy because it's a wheat byproduct, but organic hay, anything like that. Probably the easiest thing, if you have the money, is just go to the store and buy the wood shavings. And every time it smells, ammonia, pee, poop, whatever, sprinkle some on. I'm sprinkling it on about every other day in the Sea Monsters brooder, trying to stay on top of it to where I never smell anything. That's the rule. And when do you clean it out? Somebody asks. When you want some compost, because the stuff at the bottom eventually composts. You don't ever like clean it out. You just keep adding. And I mean, if you fill up your area and you're not like you're hitting the roof or something or hitting the, you got to clean it out. So you move the mulch off the top of it, harvest the compost, good stuff underneath it, and put that out out to use. If you need to clean it out because it's getting too high and your stuff on the bottom is not broke down, you could then start a compost pile with it. Mr. Brown has joined the show. I guess he's not going to lay down without our assistance. And now he's waving and playing with the camera. Can you sit good and be still out here? All right.
People are saying hi.
Oh, you're going to steal the show, dude.
I know.
If what type of drone do you use in your video? Did it hold up well, and what are the pros and cons? It surprisingly held up great, as long as you don't crash it. But surprisingly, you can get a warranty on a drone. So I am using the DJI Phantom 4. If I could have any drone I want, I would get the DJI Phantom 4 Pro. I actually have one of those. I crashed it on the tour. Never had time to get it fixed. I just need to get it fixed. Didn't get the warranty. Like everything, too much was going on. Get the warranty though. They'll fix it even if you crash it. It doesn't make sense because you're pretty much guaranteed to crash it. So that was when we were like launching on the tour and just things were crazy. If you, okay, I got that. What type of electric poultry netting are you using? I'm going to give you guys the link in the show notes, direct link, so you can know exactly what I'm using. I'm using Premier One poultry net. It's 164 feet long and 48 inches tall, single spiked. I'll just give you the link because they have a million choices. Do you take a segment on Korean natural farming methods that I missed? If so, please point me in the right direction. I'm going to include that in the show notes. Why don't I?
Did you do a one on Korean natural farming?
It was only mentioned. I did not do one on it.
Oh, okay.
Julius, an Hawaiian farmer, practices it.
Because
and
Art
speaks to
just
it.
talked about that.
Well, maybe they're thinking of Art.
And so I've been thinking about maybe looking more into it because Art was what he said made a lot of sense.
Okay.
So maybe that's something we will do.
So I'm going to go ahead and drop you guys the show notes because I keep referring to them. And then you guys can get in there. Now, don't judge me. I'm not finished editing those show notes. So there they are. Next question.
Do you have a directory for all your videos by subject matter?
Yes. It's called a playlist.
Oh, playlist.
If that's what you're talking about. On YouTube, there's something called playlists. Let me share the screen with them. And
Could you stop?
let me play application window.
Look right here. You look right there.
We'll do this one.
Look here. See that?
Share.
You look at that.
Present to everyone. I'm going to share you guys. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's sharing to everybody. Go to, oh shoot. Let's go to Art and Bree's channel, right? Let's say you're on Art and Bree or our channel. You can go to, once you're on their channel, there's a button right under their banner called playlists. They have playlists on chickens, pigs. We have all kinds. We have the Great American Farm Tour. We have season 1, 100 days, season 2, 100 days of growing food, chickens, pigs, guineas, all that good stuff. So I'm sharing this unless you want it. That's how you get to it. In the member area, we do have a guide there too. I don't know if I could grab it real quick. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to log in. Okay, so anyway, if you go into the member area there, if you hover over the library, it should pull up automatically all the different choices. What's the next question, Becca? I might need to stay on this.
What must I do to secure my chicken tractor? Something tore into it Sunday night and killed 23 8-week-old chickens. I think it was a coon because it only ate the heads off. Help.
Okay, 1/2 inch wire mesh. I've already got a link to that in the show notes. Nothing can get through 1/2 inch wire mesh that can kill your chickens.
Should you, instead of stapling that, you could use the U-nails?
I put that in the link too. I suggested U-nails
also,
instead of staples.
If you are feeling really saucy, you could put a electric net around it, or you could do like a strand of electric wire. Like you could do wires around it. If you're like really concerned. Do you know, I mean, like, because we don't know how it got into it, just something tore into it.
They won't tear into it with the 1/2 inch wire mesh. Like they might get through poultry wire. which a lot of people
Chicken
use.
wire, yeah.
So use the wire mesh.
Or I mean, if it opened up the top hatch, you might want to get some sort of like Okay. Well, maybe you should take Jonah with you or Josiah.
Mr. Brown wants to go check on the broody hens. We put the broody hens in a dog crate to break their brood tonight.
Okay,
he's concerned.
So what was I saying? Oh, if it like opened up the hatch, you could get a latch that goes like this, and you turn that, and that keeps it. Or you could put a cinder block on top, which we also.
I just updated the show notes with a link to those resources we just mentioned.
I'm really sorry, Jack, about your loss, though, because that really stinks.
I know. I am sorry.
Ugh. Okay, can you use deep netting method in a stationary coop with concrete floors?
Yes.
You can.
It's not going to break down as fast. You're going to want to add keep it moist.
Right. There you go. When preparing an old, worn-down pasture for raising a beef family cow, what are some key points to consider? For example, types of plants to avoid, overseeding desired species. Is it okay to just let the animals free choice when they're already in a rotational system?
I would always rotate. We don't have an animal that doesn't rotate. We move our sheep and our cows every single day. I would, with that type of question,
okay,
that will just, Joel Salatin is of the mind that you graze it, what's there, it gets better over time. If you feel like you need to see if you have a delicate cow, like a milk cow, like the Jersey, I would suggest a seed blend. I wouldn't go trying to be a seed expert. They have different seed blends that are that you cast out that would not be harmful to them.
I lit them up.
But the best thing you can do to a worn down pasture is start moving your cows on it every day. And if it's not enough to feed them, by the time you go through the full rotation around the whole farm, because it's so poor, feed hay, but still move them every day. Feed hay in their new spot every day. Where that hay was, what they've eaten some of it, they trample others. That spot where that hay was can go back greener, and it's going to be greener for your grandkids.
Okay, would a cow need shade shelter during summer months? Yes. And we're going to build a shade mobile sooner.
I would say zone 7 or higher is going to need shade, unless you get a heat tolerant cow. Dennis has some heat tolerant cows that he doesn't run shade for.
Well, I will say this: our American Milking Devons, we had a shade mobile out there. They never used it. They hated it. They were afraid of it.
Yeah, and so if you have a hardy breed like the American Milking Devon, and shade, is it a must? No, but the cows are going to be happier in it for sure.
Who is that? Jonah, will you go with him to check? He wants to check on the broody chickens. Will you go with him?
I opened the garage door, so they're fine.
No. Will you take him, please?
He just wants to go see the broody hens.
I don't want him to go by himself.
The sheep fence was at 60. That fence was at 40. And
thank you for testing the fence.
Cameo guineas and the cornish cross now have their garage door shut because if I close it, they cheat like
yeah, you have to shut the garage door.
I can't.
Watch out. You're going to knock that over.
I can't do that. I'm cheating.
Is it okay? The garage door has to be shut, right?
Yeah, if he can't do it, I'll just do it later.
No, he said they just chirp.
And you'll think there's a snake in there.
No, it's okay. If they chirp.
Okay. When you want to add something to your homestead, how do you decide whether or not it is a good idea? We don't do anything permanent for 3 years, and then that saves us
is she talking about
trouble.
Animals?
When you want to add something to your homestead, how do you decide whether it's
I don't know what that means.
Well, okay, so if it's like fencing, then we don't do it permanent for 3 years. If it's been there for 3 years and it's working for you, then you could consider making it permanent. If it's like adding an animal, like with the sheep and the pigs, like we just got feeders for both of those, and we're kind of like trying it out, and so we didn't make this huge investment into pigs and sheep. And then, like, we really hate it. So, for us, like, I don't know. And then, like, just talking to people, like, talking to people who have sheep, like we talk to Dan a lot, like what's it like? Like, can you tell us the pros and cons? With pigs, we could ask someone like Art and Bree, our friends, or whatever, you know, like there's just like a lot of pros and cons to it. I mean, really, we have a milk cow, so that's like the ultimate thing to like make you stay home. So it's like adding more animals to it isn't really that big of a deal. Okay, I hope I answered your question. When do you stop going through all the scenarios and just plant without it burning you out or causing more stress than one person can handle? Try to go slow and not do too many things.
That's
like
good.
2 years ago in 2016, like I wanted to add a whole bunch of animals and Justin was like, eh. That's why we only added turkeys, because he was like, I can't handle it. It's too much stress for me. And that was probably good, because then we ended up going on the Great American Farm Tour, and we would have just had to liquidate any animals that we've gotten. So it was good. You know, he had that feeling. And so I was like thinking he's being so conservative here. But in the end, it was the smart thing for us to do. And I think just like you just plant what you can handle. And like I let plants die in the greenhouse in June. Like it was too much for me to handle. So I just let them die.
That's true.
And that's okay. And I just gave myself grace, and I'm like, okay, like I didn't get to planting those plants. You know.
Somebody want to know if my mic on my camera got in the way. I don't find it to get in the way. And he's wanting a resource to a smaller mic. I'm giving him that. Both Art and Bree and Uncle Pete use a smaller mic than I do. But I figured I'm already carrying this big camera. Why not go all out with this shotgun mic?
Okay, feeling a little concerned regarding the setup of our electric fence. I got the same one you have, except it plugs in. Could you go over the steps for setting it up, i.e. the grounding post, the wire that connects to the fence? The instructions are kind of vague. Electric fence is like really hard for me. I don't completely understand it, but he's been doing it his whole life, so it's just like second nature to him. Have you done a video yet on electric fencing setup?
If you guys set up electric, I got the same as you, except it's plugged in. I love plug-in fence. Actually, you get more for your money with plug-in fence. Could you go over the steps for setting it up? The ground post, the wire connects to the fence. The instructions are kind of vague. I wonder if you're talking about the instructions in the. I wonder if you're talking about the instructions. I don't know. Maybe I need to do it. It's going to be really hard to tell you over. Well, where's my chalkboard? Let's try it. Here. Let me see this, Mr. Brown. Okay, sure. Quick.
Yeah, turn it
Hold it up
around.
like this. This is my Father's Day gift from Jonah.
It's a P for Papa. He did a good job.
Okay, I'm going to draw on it.
All I had to do
and
was
then you
cut
can
the
draw
wood,
on it.
and he did everything else.
I'm going to draw on it, and then you can. Rebecca, can you see that in here?
Um,
So setting up an electric fence is really easy, actually. It's super easy. Let's say you have your Energizer. It doesn't. Let's just draw this as a solar one, okay? That's a solar Energizer. That's my best drawing. Let me. I will. Come here. Come stand right here. Come stand right here. So that's our Energizer. Let's call this. There's always a red knob on an Energizer. Hold on. Whether it's a plug-in or a solar. Can you scoot over so they can see? This is, let's call this the plus sign. Okay, this one's going to be red or orange or something like this. And let's say this side is going to be negative. It's going to be black. So the black is going to go to your ground. You got a ground rod. Premier One sends you like 3-foot ground rod. You can get them even longer. If it's a permanent Energizer in a place, you might get a longer one. But if you live in a pretty wet place, you can get away with a short one, like a 3-foot. If you live in a dry foot, get a 6-foot. So let's say this is our ground. This is grass. You take your grounding rod and you drive it in. And then the Energizer people usually provide some kind of clamp. We get the clamp that you just pinch onto this that goes into that. That's you can watch out, Mr. Brown. This you connect your ground. And if you don't have a nice fancy connector that came with the Energizer, we just use, hold on. We just use an electric wire that we wrap around the grounding rod. Hold on, Mr. Brown. Okay, I'm gonna let you draw on this in 1 second. We wrap it around the grounding rod over here with it, and then clamp it. Hold on. You can use a hose clamp for this or a grounding rod clamp, and both those are available at Lowe's or Home Depot. Wait, hold on. And then this positive, I'm almost done. So here's your fence. It's 2 strands, or it's a web, or whatever. You run an electric cord. Premier One comes with the convenient clamps that you clamp onto the fence that runs a wire to here. You run a wire. Hold on. Hey, Mr. Brown, can they see? They run a live show here, folks. They run a wire from this clamp all the way over to this fence. And you just connect it there with a clamp, or you just wrap it around it. That's it. That's it. And then you plug this in, or you let the solar power run it. Okay, Mr. Brown, no problem. Okay, where were we?
Oh.
What?
Here. We were, I know you guys have to sell maple. Where's that one?
Let me catch up with you guys. I know you guys have to sell maple because you can't have her as an RV, but what if you stripped her down to the wheels and motor and made her basically a tiny house? It's not possible. We looked into that too. There would have to be so much done for converting her into a house to bring her up to code. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. She wouldn't be a bus anymore. You might as well build a different structure. We looked into every possible structure. Greetings, sirs, from the Netherlands. Hello, George. Okay, we got this left. We're almost through it. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Looks like we'll wrap up a little after 10 or a little after 9. I would plug Cindy right now. She's probably about to jump over on her live show. I would say there'd be a good after party over at Part-Time Permies on YouTube. She's a great member of this community. She has a great live show, I believe, every Sunday night at 9. So go check that out here in about 5 minutes. I've got 10 2.5-month chickens. They were put into the 5,000 square foot garden prep space full of grass, weeds, and compost over a month ago. They seem happy. However, it takes over a week for 1 gallon of clean prep water to be drunk. It's hanging in the tractor, and they are very excited for fermented feed when I bring it, but don't eat much. Maybe 4 baking cups a day. It's often left to get buggy. I just plop the new stuff on top and figure bugs are good. Wash every few days. Should I worry? Absolutely not. You got a great problem there. It sounds like you have enough food off the land where they are. You have a reasonable number of chickens and more than enough land that they're finding, especially right now during the growing season. They're getting greens. They're getting bugs. They're getting all they need from the land. I would say you don't have a problem. You have a great solution. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. You might even let them run out of their feed before they give them more. Give them less each day until you see that they need more coming into the fall and to the winter. You can raise 6 chickens totally free range. No, 12 chickens totally free range on 1 acre. Like never feed them and be okay. When raising Sea Monster, did you feed starter, grower, or finished feed? You always on Sea Monster's Cornish cross chickens, it's always starter. You never transition to grower. Starter for the entire 8 weeks. How did you get Mr. Brown his nickname? That's because Mr. Brown likes the book. Mr. Brown Can Moo, Can You? And that's when we first started YouTubing. We thought it was a fun show name. We gave him that name, and his name and the Beautiful Ones is really the only one that stuck. I have 1,320 feet of Premier electric rope. How do I use this long strand to make paddock for rotational grazing for my 4 Dexter cows? You actually cut it. as needed. I cut and my wire and my fencing all the time. I put shorter bits of wire on reels, like old electric plastic reels. You can actually get electric wire reels from people like Premier One, and you can roll those up and unroll those. And I make those shorters for my paddocks. Because sometimes my paddocks need to only be, sometimes my paddock, like I have a cross fence going up right now, it's probably not even 30 feet wide. And then, but the field is longer, so that it's probably maybe 200 feet across. So I have at least 250 feet on each reel. And that gives me the flexibility to go short or long, depending on the size of the pasture. I guesstimate what they need for one day. And then I judge it the next day and I say, did I give them too much land or too little? And if there's a lot left, I gave them too much. And I'll give them less the next day. If there's nothing left and they're just really eager to get through, I was like, maybe I'm giving them too little and I give them a little more that day.
Okay. Should DE be offered to cows and other animals as free choice? Can DE be overdone? I don't think it can be overdone. We don't offer it as free choice, do we? DE?
No.
We don't.
You could. I mean, it won't hurt. They won't take it if they don't need it.
We put DE in with the kelp for the lambs. We should probably do some DE for the pigs. And I think there's DE in the chicken food. I'm not sure. How does one keep the bull and heifer separate during winter months barn usage? Well, in ours, they just have their own stall that they go in. Now, when we had Scarlett and Nick, our American Milking Devons, Scarlett and Nick would often go into the same stall together. They were besties. And so sometimes we could pull Scarlett out, and sometimes we couldn't. So we just let it be. You mentioned once about measuring the left side of a cow to see where they're getting enough to eat. Please explain.
I left a phenomenal article in the show notes about that, where we learned how to do that from Reformation Acres.
So
getting tired, Becky?
I am. The left side of the cow, like they have a triangle, and that when they're hungry, it's sunken in, and when they're full, it's
but
like.
We're going to show you an article
body.
So you can actually.
But look at the article.
Charts.
It's a really good article. Reformation Acres. They've had a milk cow for
I'll share the
10
show
years.
notes again. Somebody else is in there right now looking.
Okay, so
I'm going to share the show notes again.
Reformation Acres is a great resource for cow knowledge. We have, before we had cows, I read a lot of it. I've read a lot of her articles to get knowledge. So it's great. She's great. I got to meet her in Ohio. She's a very nice lady.
Keep going.
That's it.
Oh, that's it.
We got to the
You
end.
sure? Okay. I guess we did it, guys. So thank you. Look, we did it. We wrapped up before a bunch more of you guys are on the show notes. Enjoy them. I'm going to spend a few more minutes just making those show notes look good and tidying them up. And we will see you guys next time in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for the questions that come out. It's time for us to go. So thank you, guys. If you get your answer to your questions, text me. We love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for all your support. We hope we helped you. And just plant.